So, as we have been reading the other chapters, I
Mm-hmm.
have noticed a difference in these three chapters that we are reading this
Mm-hmm.
time. The last chapters we kind of talked about reflecting on the children and how the children should feel on these different subjects about meaningful PE.
Mm-hmm.
And as reading these three chapters, I have seen that they're talking about getting feedback from the teachers and
Right.
seeing how the teachers feel and how their learning experience can make a difference
Mm-hmm.
for the children as they're teaching them. So that's what I gained from learning from these three chapters and from the
Yeah.
other previous chapters that we've been talking about. Do you
Right.
have
Because in
any
the first chapters, we talked a lot about meaningful PE, and now we're
mhm,
talking about learning
learning?
about
Yeah.
meaningful PE.
Hmm.
Um, and then one of my first highlights that I made was we resigned ourselves that teachers may not be in a position to adopt all meaningful PE in their local context and accepted that implementation by degree based on what was possible in local context could positively influence the practices of PE. And I feel like that's important because I feel like a lot of teachers might get overwhelmed by everything that you need to do that
Hmm.
somebody considers meaningful PE,
Hmm.
but you don't have to do everything. You can, as I said, you can just implement small pieces over time. And even that small stuff can make a difference for those
Yeah,
kids.
most definitely. And like you said, I'm gonna piggyback off of that.
Mm-hmm.
When I was reading this, I seen that there are different type of um learning cubes that teachers get from
Mm-hmm.
like different schools, like how we might be learning something different. And when we go get into our classrooms or gyms and start teaching, it might be a different way. And then for if somebody come in and be like observing us and being like, oh, they're not doing that right.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that's the way we learned it from being in college. And what we're taking from college is what we feel like we're gonna need in the classroom. And that, I mean, that is the correct. That's what I think. I feel like what we
Yeah.
learn in college is what we're gonna be taking to our classrooms, and we're gonna
Right.
be explaining it to the children or thinking that's the right way. But as in the book, it say that there is multiple ways of teaching. So
Right.
that's
And
what I have to say.
on that, I read a quote in this book that says, "Does everyone not teach towards meaningful experiences?" And I
No.
think that that has to do with, right, like you might think that everyone does, but then you get into student teaching or you
Hmm.
might get a job and then you're co-teaching with someone and you learn that they're not teaching the way that we are being taught now.
Yeah.
And I think some of that is like generational, like what they were taught. There's just so much more information
Yeah.
now that they just didn't have then.
That's kind of like old school. Like what they say, they be like old school ways, and then like the new way, the new
Mm-hmm.
generation way. And I would say like I haven't experienced any old teachers, well, old professor like they like teach that type of way that has a like we need
I
to
don't feel
be
like I have either. I've just
heavy.
heard stories from other people,
Yeah.
like
So
from their experiences.
so I feel like I mean I have in like in high school, but not in college. So
Yeah, right, right, right. And well, that has another quote that I highlighted was reflection on their own experiences as learners can
mhm.
help them to make sense of how to create similar experiences for others. So this one's saying that if they had a meaningful experience, they can reflect on why was that meaningful and move on. But to use what we're talking about, reflection can also be I didn't like what my teacher was
Mhm.
doing, so I'm going to make sure that I do it differently, or
Mhm.
how they were doing it didn't seem as meaningful as it could be. So, how can I change that in the future? And I think that that's why reflection on your experiences and getting reflections from your students
Mhm.
is important.
Yeah, because I seen somewhere in the book, I don't know where I seen it, but I read it. Um, it was basically a student giving a reflection saying, oh, here you go, right here. It was like, it was basically saying that she was basically giving feedback on the teacher and
Mm-hmm.
basically saying like the way she teach was a great way and she thought it was very meaningful and she took that and she's gonna like take it, she's gonna put it in her head and she's gonna like just go on with it and be like, oh yeah, I learned something from it.
Yeah,
It's
I
just like
actually.
in Miss Coleman class, as we was talking about the other
Mm-hmm.
day, we was like, I feel like that's about the only class from college that I would have to say that I went to class, actually studied, and then like actually took something home with me and be like, oh, I know what that is, or I can
Right.
explain what that is.
Yeah, I
So
think I highlighted that same quote too. I think it was the teacher Stephanie looking at
yeah,
her
Stephanie.
reflection. Yes,
Hmm.
I highlighted that one too. That one stuck out to me too. And I do think that, like, so when you go out, you can nearly look at the way she did it and think about how you do it. And I just thought that it was good to see it from another teacher's perspective.
Yeah. Just like this, the little chart she
Yes,
did.
I liked that
I like
too.
that.
I
It was a
liked that, and
numbness, and
then
then like you don't know who put the sticker up there, but you can see where
right,
you need to go back and change or
yes.
look over some things. I like
I
that.
liked that one, and then the latter one, I think
Hmm.
was it figure 7.2? Yep, figure 7.2. I liked that one too,
Yeah.
where they put the dots on the ladder. I thought that that could be really helpful too.
Let me see. Now for students to yeah, but these three chapters are totally different from what we have been
What we
learning.
have been reading, right? We
Yeah,
read a
we
lot
have been.
about how they were using meaningful PE, and now
Yeah,
it's more about how they created,
it is.
like what
Because at
those
first I was
teachers
like,
were teaching about.
huh?
Yeah.
I was like, hello, are we talking? Are we still talking about the students right now or the teachers?
Yeah. Well, and then another quote that or another piece that I highlighted was, it is critical to show the children that when we learn in PE, that what we learn in PE is just as important as what we learn in math. And the skills acquired can be incorporated and transferred to many other subjects or areas of life. Because I feel like when you're in your math and your science classes, especially in pre-college, you hear like, you'll need to know this for college, you will like
Mhm.
build, and you build off of it every year. And I think a lot of times people like CPE as, you're going and you're getting your physical activity, but that you're not building
Mhm.
on anything, because they just like can't, they just don't understand it, or they had a bad experience in PE and they just like can't see the
Any
behind the
growth
scenes of like what is being built on.
on
So I
PE.
do think that that is important to let your kids also know this is meaningful because you can use this in XYZ. Just like when you learn how to multiply, that's going to help you when you learn how to divide.
Right. We believe that teacher education can encourage these type of skills by providing rich learning. I'm trying to see what else.
Well, I did have a question for you. So I
Uh-huh.
know that you're the sport coaching route. So,
Yes.
okay, I'll tell you, it's on page 88. So that way I
Page
don't have to like
88.
read everything to you.
Okay.
Because then you might not remember what I said. But the 1 through 4, it talks about the four
And you said
goals.
80,
88.
88. I'm on 85. Sorry.
It's the four goals for continuous professional development. And like I said,
Hmm.
I know that you were sport coaching
Hmm.
and you're not Pete. So I know that like the praxis focused would like not be a priority to
Hmm.
you. But like, do you see another one that is like that you think would be like your biggest priority?
Mm, I would say two.
Yeah.
Mm, I feel like if I coach, I want
Mm-hmm.
my students to be able to learn something from what I'm teaching them. I just
Right.
don't want it to be like, yeah, I understand, and then they go on and don't understand nothing. Like
Right.
don't
They're just saying
understand
that to
nothing. I
please you.
Yeah, I want them to actually understand what is going on, and I also will
Mm-hmm.
want my students to be able enough to open up, and if they do have questions, to come and talk to me because I struggle with that a lot too. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when I don't understand, I say, "Yeah, I get it," just to go on. But then when I actually sit
Right.
down in front of it and be like, I don't know
I
what that
actually don't know
was.
what's going
I
on at all.
don't know what's going on. But I actually just want to, I feel like I just want to be able to explain things and break it down, actually giving the content that they're supposed to be getting, and then
Hmm.
also challenging them while giving them the chance to do something new. And it's like
Hmm.
not just being like, oh, you don't have to challenge yourself. I want you to challenge
Right.
yourself. It's always good to challenge yourself. And I feel
Hmm.
like as a teacher or a coach, whatever, I'm still debating on what I want to do. But in both parts, I just want to make sure that every child get a good experience, actually
Right.
understand, take those steps or whatever information I give you, and you go along with it and
Hmm.
actually learn something and have something to take from it. That's it, really.
Right.
And I know everybody will want something like that,
Yeah.
but hey, it's kind of hard out here.
Yeah. Well, I will say on the flip side of that, of one that I don't agree with and that I don't really
Hmm.
like that they're like making it one of the four goals is the praxis focused. So like I said,
Hmm.
I know right now you're sports coaching, so like you haven't
Yeah.
taken the praxis, but I do, and I understand that the praxis is there to test what you've learned and required
Yeah.
for your licensure. But I do think that it shouldn't be
Be
this big
because
focus. And I don't like the idea of like a big test like deciding your
if you
future.
learned anything, yeah. Because
Right.
I have noted, well, I heard some people say that the practice test is not really just based on one thing that you have learned, or like it's different things. So it's like when you go in, you don't know what's going to be on the test. So
Right.
it's,
Well, and it's also like it can be so broad
yeah,
that it's
I
like
have
if
heard
you
that.
did not like if you didn't study it and bank it from like sophomore year,
Hmm.
you might miss that question. And you may be missing, just a couple more questions than you did decided your fate. So
Yeah,
I do think that that's I don't like that that is mentioned as one of like the main
main
focuses.
focus. Yeah, and I kind of hate big tests like that because I feel like a test can't judge. It really can't judge on who you are and how the way you teach. I just feel
Right.
like, okay, of course you can study and study and study and go in and pass the test if you study.
Hmm.
I mean, that doesn't judge on how you're gonna go in and actually teach the kids, how you're
Hmm.
gonna engage with the children. Are you
Right.
good with communication? That's not.
Hmm.
I feel like that's not really helping anything. It's just really seeing if you know it, basically.
Right, right, right. But and to say like when you were saying about like connecting with the kids, something
Hmm.
else I highlighted was that the first assignment in the class is an autobiographical inquiry that is designed to have pre-service teachers reflect on, inquire into, and share their educative and miseducative experiences with PE and physical activity. And they talk about how like that's good to get them thinking about what was meaningful for them and what wasn't, but it
Hmm.
also helps to talk about different backgrounds, especially because like for you we talk a lot about how you had almost no PE experience kind
Right.
of. And then like I had, I would say, semi normal-ish, like we did things but it wasn't like to the degree that they try to teach us to do. It was kind of more the coach was do this and I'm going to sit here and
Yeah.
do whatever I'm doing,
Yeah.
but I still had that experience. So, and I think that's good too to discuss the different experiences so that you can
Mhm.
also have a better understanding of you could end up in a school where the kids had
Right.
like no experience or no motivation or anything. And it's good to have a conversation about those different backgrounds that children may
Backgrounds.
have.
I just want to know, like, what made, like, me reading this book, what made them talk about what is a meaningful PE. it it kind of,
I think that a lot of it comes from maybe they had
that's what I'm
rough
saying.
meaningful
Like, did this come
experiences.
from meaningful spirit? I mean, meaningful like experience in PE, or it didn't? Because it's like y'all went to college and y'all
Hmm.
proceeded to continue to have like all these type of books about PE.
Hmm.
Like, it still kind of blows me because it's like, how can you talk about PE? But at the same time, it's like, okay, I see how y'all can talk about PE to see if these children actually gain any type of experience from PE.
Yeah, well, and
But
I will say, like, I feel like these last three chapters, they were a lot, it was kind of a lot more information.
informational,
And
then
yes, it was more like research based and things. So it was like a little bit harder to want to read. It
read
didn't
it.
grab you as much as some of the other ones. But I do like that they included people from different countries and things,
Countries,
and like they were gathering information and research from around the world, not just the
the
US,
United, yeah,
because
US.
a lot of times I feel like you think of, or you only like pay attention to research here,
Hmm.
but this research was kind of like
Everywhere.
it was broad. So I feel like they really got the maximum amount of information that they could get, and like statistics and everything, to
Hmm.
help them really make this learning about meaningful PE as like they have like a good background for it to like support
Talking about, yeah.
everything they're saying.
Hmm.